I can hear you now, which means we can get this Pantomime Horseful podcast underway. Right? You've got your shirt on, Scruffy? Have you been through hair and makeup yet? So...
I had a makeup artist one time, and one of the things I did, for VMware, they had me do some stuff for their CIO sort of VIP groups.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I had to do some filming on. It was the hottest day at the time, a few years ago, and it was like something got 35 or something, and they said bring a variety of clothes, and then our creative director will choose what he wants you to wear. So he put me in the bloody pullover, didn't he? So I'm in the jumper and sweating, and they had a makeup artist, and I was like, that's going to be weird. And so I had to see the makeup artist, and she was like, well, you're not really very shiny. I'll put a little bit of anti-shine on. Guess what, though? She spent most of the afternoon drying the sweat underneath my man boobs with a hairdryer.
That's a rubbish job, that, isn't it? That's the worst job in the world.
She said she'd had to do it for Downton Abbey when they filmed their Christmas special in the summer, and they were all in these massive coats. But I was like, here I've got a makeup artist. I finally hit the big time, and her whole day job is holding. As soon as they finish filming a scene, they'd then run me off, and I'd have to go and get dried again under my man boobs with the hairdryer. It was a humiliating day.
That's brilliant. You've never told me that story. That's
funny. I don't know. Well, there you go. Well, now I've shared it with you and Matt on the audio.
That's right, yeah. Now 3 of us know. The poor makeup artist who's probably still in therapy as she's trying to recover from the awful experience.
She was very good about it in the way that you would be. Going, yeah, no, this happens all the time, sir.
Dear me, poor lady. Oh my goodness, crikey! I don't know where to go from there, Kieron. Should we try and talk about something else?
Well, I can take you straight into a good segue, because there's a board. This is I was reading this thing this week on 5.6 Sol, the ChatGPT's latest model, or one of them. Yep. I saw this post from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and
do you know him?
He sends me posts. I think it's just for me. I think
he contacted me.
I think it's just for me. Yeah, I'm not sure. There seem to be some other people liking it as well. But anyway, this is a wardrobe app. So my other half was very excited about the potential of it. And you basically take a load of photos of you in your clothes, and then it creates like a kind of what looked like a kind of shop for you with all your clothes, and you can put them together in different ways, and it can suggest different colors of the same things that fit you well, and blah blah blah. The point was, Sam Altman's comment on it was, this would have been a whole new startup not long ago, and now it's something you can just do. You just get your phone out, spend a few minutes or probably a couple of hours taking photos, write a bit of prompts, and you've got one. It's kind of like, what does that mean for the world? I mean, it's the AI disruption of all those kind of things that would have probably raised 5 million in funding and had a little crack out there and tried to sell a few of itself. And here it is, just do it yourself.
Wow, that is incredible, isn't it? I was thinking about the pace of developments, not just because of the models and the new ones coming out and tools like that. I was thinking about it for ourselves, really, because this last week, I think it was last week, we joked about Ben winning a bet because Donald said he wasn't going to make any new developments, and he'd failed by Wednesday, and Ben was still to collect his money on that bet. But again, similar thing this week. It's just like the whole kind of like 8:10 this morning. Are you busy? Can I borrow you for a second? Can you just I've created a web app so that you can have KnowledgeFlow directly onto your desktop. So it's just like, can you press that button? Oh yeah, it works. Perfect. Right. Okay. Crack on. Brilliant.
Amazing.
But the other thing that kind of made me think yesterday was we were pitching to a healthcare organisation, and we've got limited stuff in healthcare currently, but good enough to definitely talk about. But they were talking about some features which I said, I think we're doing similar things in housing. So we demoed some of the stuff that we're doing in housing, and they could see immediately the crossover, the kind of relevance, the kind of how the application. Nice. And it was, but what struck me was I hadn't seen half of the bloody things. It was new to me. I was like, hang on a sec, how did I not know about stuff that we're just doing ourselves? And so that whole kind of pace of development and working with customers and developing new stuff and getting feedback. It's just it is incredible. And that whole kind of, that step-by-step stuff that he's done, where you kind of do this, do step one and and then it tells you what to do on step two. So there's no room for kind of error in the approach. And what these health people were saying was, we can't afford for there to be any deviation from the process, because it's got to end up in looking like this. It's like, just show them the step.
And that's what those are, as you know, that's what they're designed for. And also with the regulatory angle on that, with KnowledgeFlow being able to capture the audit trail of what happened and each change and everything that went through that process, you've then got something that should it end up in a complaint or something even more formal than that, then you have the full trail, which is the part that other apps are not able to do, frankly. And of course, all of that is stored inside your own Microsoft Azure tenancy, all down there for you securely. So really good. I'm glad to hear that they can see the read across. Often, as we've talked about before, customers find it sometimes very difficult to see something in a different sector and see the application in theirs. So it's great if they've got that innovation, that imagination. So good stuff. That sounds encouraging.
It is interesting, because Helen, Mrs. Watkins, will say to me, I can't imagine, I struggle with the imagination piece. I can't do the imagination thing. And I think we've got some customers like that. There was the kind of the story we were talking about on stand-up of, the customer going, oh yeah, that's good, and then just moving on and not doing anything about it, just kind of not seeing how things would develop. But these guys didn't lack for imagination. What they lacked for was common sense. It was like, oh, and can it do this? And oh, can it do that? And could you just? It's like, we could do all of those things, but the two things. It takes time and effort and money, and I'll come back to the money piece in a second. And you need to prioritize, because you've just given me like 87 things you want doing. It's like, well, where do we start? What's the most important?
And what always happened is I get this a lot, is they want all these little things. Well, it's got to be like that. It's got to do that, and then they'll come and tell you that it's got to be really cheap. And it's that same old project management triangle or whatever it's really for. But I always think of it as that: it's scope, time, and quality, and budget. If you move in one, another's going to move. That's why I kind of not fell out. But if you remember, there was a customer which I ended up pricing high, so that they would say no to us. And it was exactly that, because they were kept on going, well, we're a charity and we've got no money. Oh, but it's got to do this. And you're like, it doesn't need to do that. That's a preference. What KnowledgeFlow does as a platform will do what you need really, really well. You are just adding these things because, for whatever reason, leaders and managers add things, whatever, sometimes for right and sometimes just because they thought of it just now. And I wish people would kind of understand, if they want that bespoke solution, then you're not going to get it as a normal price.
No, indeed. And we also suffer, as we have done with a couple of customers recently, where somebody new comes in and you've got to start again, or a new IT person comes in and here's my 30 questions, which I've just knocked out of ChatGPT, that you now have to answer within 30 seconds, or I don't like you. It's just like absolute bonkers. Just it was some real
frustrating, that part. And the fact that they come to us on that is a bit annoying to me. I mean, it's inevitability that the one we were talking about on stand-up today is like, well, all of this stuff exists already. You've already asked all of this. You've got paperwork on all these things. You should be asking yourselves before you come to us and having meetings with us and asking all the same questions again. So it is.
Your predecessor went through. You made us jump through all these hoops, and we passed all the tests. And the contracts are there, and your purchasing people went through it, but you're just being lazy and just trying to make that you come in new, and you feel like you've got to make an impression, and you want to do something, and it feels like the wrong thing to do. But that's frustration with customers. But I'll share the cost thing. So yesterday we talked to our good old friend Cameron Mercer, and there's a great podcast episode coming out for those who are interested. But one of the things he said that really struck me, so Cam, really fascinating chap, but he now works out in the Middle East for an NGO supporting higher education across Middle East and North Africa. And he said there's a number of senior leaders in education in especially in Africa, who think AI is free. And you have to tell them that it's not free, and they're absolutely gobsmacked that it's not free. And I was like, and I was like, hang on, that's really how can you? Anyway, I'm on this call yesterday with this healthcare group, and then the guy goes, and we start. I mentioned cost, and he was like, what? He said, oh, is it not free then? I was like,
Gee,
what?
what do you
He was
think
like, are
we're
you
doing?
serious?
Just
Yes.
just turning up and spending our days doing this stuff out of the
Well,
goodwill of our hearts.
it's not just that. It's because people are fixated on the kind of whole. Yeah, I can get onto the free Chat GPT, and I can get onto these free models, and I can use Gemini or whatever, and I can use them. It's like, yeah, you can, but for all the reasons we've talked about, like security, like accuracy, like trust, like confidentiality, like GDPR, all the things that you say are important to you. Funny enough, there's a cost that comes with that
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
The fact that they said it, I was absolutely. Are you serious? Just unbelievable, unbelievable.
Crazy. They
No,
just keep shoving their data into the free tools instead and getting crap answers and muddling their way through.
that's right. See you in GDPR court.
Yeah, exactly. So I had Nate B. Jones, our favourite little
Wow.
person we follow. He accepted my LinkedIn request at last. So I don't know what
Wow.
changed for him. I reckon he's obviously heard about us, and
Is he
maybe all
is
this
he is he
talking
listening to
about.
the podcast?
Yeah, I imagine he's our only listener, perhaps now. And anyway, so
Maybe.
I was very excited
Ah,
to
sure you
see
should
him.
be. Yeah, he
To
hasn't
see him.
accepted mine. He's happy to take my money for his Substack
Yeah,
post because yeah, but, it's good. Actually, no, he is really excellent, and I've said before, he is he's our guru, and we listen to him a lot, and he has some great things to say. Actually, both what I really like about him is he's a bit like you, Kieran. Uh, he's
I
or I
wish.
should say you're a bit like him,
I wish I
which
was like him.
yeah. So he comes at things from two completely different ends of the spectrum, which makes him really interesting as a character because he goes right into the weeds. He's got his own benchmarking tool that he's created. He tests all the LLMs. He goes into some detail. He goes into real detail, real hard tests for these, and then he comes at it from a kind of strategically. Here's what you need to do as a CEO, and here's all the things you need to think about in terms of your organization, your customers, and the direction of travel for your business, and the ability to kind of both do both things, but
Yeah,
also bring them together is
yeah.
actually, I think, one of the things that's quite unique because um, uh, there is a lot of nonsense talked about AI on the interweb, and he's one of the few people that I kind of he's one of the few go-to people that I've got. So I really like him, and that kind of links to something that else I wanted to talk about. So there's a guy called Peter Wendt who we've
Ah,
worked with in the
yes.
past. He's a really nice chap. I had a really
Yeah,
excellent. He's really good at the marketing stuff and really good at the messaging piece.
yeah.
And he wrote a book called Brandwank, which is really interesting and talks about how corporations and organizations, especially on LinkedIn, if you look at someone's LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
it's just absolute gobbledygook nonsense. And his question is, what does that even mean? What does that what are they saying? I don't know what they do, or what does that mean? And he's really good. So I was one thing about Nate is actually he can translate that
Yeah,
technical
absolutely.
nonsense into simple language that anyone can understand. But yeah, I'd highly recommend Peter's book because it's most entertaining and actually really good messaging on language in general, but also how do you kind of not fall into the trap of which lots of people clearly are of using LLMs to write their marketing, their LinkedIn profile, their website copy, and actually his real major point is if you do that, you're not going to stand out from the crowd, and therefore whatever you're spending on advertising or whatever you're doing is just going to be wasted because you're just one of a gazillion others. So yeah, really interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's good. And I think your point on Nate and trustworthiness. I mean, I've said a few times to customers, I think the future of brands is trust. Given and really what I'm talking about is where I was talking to the King's Fund, who are a healthcare, what are they, a think tank, I think they call
They are a
themselves,
think tank. Yeah.
and in the UK, and in a world where so they do all kinds of things, and they do research for customers, and lots of things, and their website has lots of kind of answers and the latest reports and things. In a world where AI can get you straight to a lot of that stuff, there is clearly going to be an erosion of their market, and true of so many organizations, particularly if you're in the information sharing collation business. But the key, I think, is the differentiator is trust. And it's a bit like, if you use Perplexity for search and you have a look at the sources, I'm much more likely to look at the stuff that's, a trustworthy source, the FT or something, than I am if I'm unknown Caravan Weekly website or whatever. So I think that's what brands should be thinking about is how do we maintain the trust over our stuff and make sure that what we do is good and accurate and we continue to put it out. But the thing that Nate has done, which is, I think, a future for the world of newsletters and news in general. Nate's got his MCP server where he has all of his kind of content. You can plug your AI into it and effectively ask your version with all the stuff your AI knows about you of Nate's story. And so instead of reading something like we all do, and bits of an article are relevant and bits aren't, the idea is that everything you read will be personalized to your situation, to the challenges you have, but obviously coming from Nate's perspective on whatever it is. That I think is really interesting. That idea that in the King's Fund world, I mentioned it to their marketing team. In the King's Fund, they put out a newsletter, but use this version of the newsletter, and it will now only or specifically bend everything to the why that matters if you are a clinician in a hospital or a manager or somewhere else. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, the personalization piece, really good.
Yeah, really, I think that's clearly a future. It's already happening, and I think that in the other sort of my other interest in the world, I've spent not insignificant amount of time in my career doing transformation programs with the big advertising groups. So with WPP, with Dentsu, Group M are part of WPP, and so I'm kind of I'm always sort of slightly interested in their world and the things they grapple with, and effectively the SEO, search engine optimization, so getting your page seen on Google on the first page. Here's the interesting thing with AEO, I think they call it there's various different phrases. I think people are still trying to win the name for that new version of how do you get your website seen by an LLM. Well, the first thing that's interesting is LLMs will largely ignore any sponsored content. So if you're paying to be on top of Google, well, whatever, LLMs will look on page 3, 4 of the search results, whereas it was always about getting on page 1. I mean, this is all just stuff to think about. I've got no real expertise in what you do about all of this. And Nate's talked about this a long time ago, is the way chunking works and the sort of token sampling, if you like, that an LLM does when it's doing a search for you is different. And it seems so you can either try and write your copy in chunk sizes that LLMs will like. It's one way. The latest thing I've been reading is making your copy more conversational is apparently working to get you onto the LLMs when someone's searching for what chocolate-based snack should I eat on my break today to make me feel joyous and happy? How does Kit Kat appear at that point? They need to kind of be matching that kind of search as opposed to someone searching for chocolate-based snacks, which they might do in Google. You're going to be saying, I'm having a break and I'm wondering what kind of chocolate I should have. Imagine
that's really interesting. So two things. One is come back to the Peter Wendt point about writing for humans, and I get it. Actually, if you've got AI word salad slop on your website, no one's going to understand it, no one's going to read it. So you're making it more human. But also, how do you do that and make it LLM readable? Because actually, the last 2 customers who come to us unexpectedly told us they found us through ChatGPT. Now, I was amazed at that. So, because we'd not structured our website or our content for that particular route. But actually, one of the things on my mind after reading Peter's book and thinking about the Nate stuff is actually we need to do both. You can't I think you need to do both. You can't do one or the other. I think you need to do some kind of both. Now, some people might think that's heretical, but I think that's what I'm trying to do.
A while ago, I've seen one website that has an LLM friendly version of their entire site. It's basically just one page with a markdown file of their whole site.
You've mentioned that to me 3 or 4 times, and I think you've given up because you think I'm not going to do it. That's not actually
clearly.
Well, the reason I haven't done it is
you're just waiting to get the website finished, aren't you?
The website will never be finished. It's the fourth rule, you know that. Yeah. But the point is all the feedback I've had from Claude and others is that actually it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually the quality of the writing, not the fact that there's a markdown file, because it already strips out the kind of the block, the Gutenberg block. See, there you go. You know what a Gutenberg block is. Exactly, and actually you don't need to know, because actually it doesn't matter, because it doesn't look.
What would Peter Wentz say of that comment you just made to me? Would he approve of your throwing some difficult words at me to try and throw me off the scent?
He would absolutely be cross with me. He just shake his head again and go, "Oh God, Neil." But the point is that the AI strips all that stuff out anyway. Then actually you don't need to just do it as a markdown file. Interesting. I wondered whether that was kind of virtue signaling on behalf of whoever's writing a bloody website. It's like, ooh, look at me, I've put my LLM markdown file down at the bottom so that everyone gets it. Because actually people like you fall for it.
Oh, you cheeky monkey. Maybe it's the thing that'll make a difference. People like you are biased against it for no reason at all.
I'm not biased. I'd like to see the evidence, Kieron. I need to trust the evidence.
There isn't. No one can really see it, can they? It's too difficult. Reddit is so I see a lot of that in perplexity search, and I hear that AI search because those fast-moving sites. Reddit is open as you can search it, whereas Twitter have restricted the ability for robots to get in there. It is sort of you get more current stuff, so I think they rely on it because you're getting things so fast moving. If you search it, you'll get some things from right now, but then you also get the weirdness of all of that coming into because Reddit is a bit like Twitter, and it's kind of like just random comments and trolling and all the rest of it that comes with it. So interesting. The whole world is a very peculiar future. Well, not peculiar, fascinating future, and that sort of world, it does interest me a little bit, of how do you get audience attention still, and what will be and it seems like, and this is great, there's a organization I've done some work with who I very much admire, the Ozone Project, who are I'm going to try and use their brand marketing, but they basically work only on behalf of advertisers, work only with high quality journalism. So if you work with them, your ads are not going to appear on Pornhub and God knows where else. They'll only appear on trusted websites. And I think that whole world of trusted media, the LLMs are using that too. So I think they may be well onto something. Now the question is, how do you get somebody from a perplexity search to the website to see an advert, or how do you get the advert into the perplexity site? That's the next challenge for everybody, I think.
Well, I'm going to concentrate on trying to produce better content, which is very human-centric. It's very clear. It doesn't use it doesn't use AIW *** language, and but also that there's lots of it, so that actually the SEO and ChatGPT continues to put us out there as one of the people doing trusted private rags. So I was super excited by that, actually, the fact that we're actually making some progress with that, and as I say, customers coming to us out of the blue with that is really exciting.
Yeah, it's good. So I was yesterday, in fact, I was giving host. What's the word? I wasn't hosting it. I was on a webinar anyway with JISC, for our JISC pilot. So JISC are in the UK. They're apparently the world's biggest provider of private, is it cloud, private connection connectivity. So they run the 8.ac.uk network, Janet, as it was back in the day, probably still is. Who knows? But they also are well respected in education in the UK, as you know. and they've asked if they can pilot KnowledgeFlow. They had a test of it back in January. In fact, there was a group of them. Slightly alarming time, frankly, because we gave them access to KnowledgeFlow, and that was their head of AI, their AI team, their people that really know what they're talking about. And they gave it a good hard kicking, and then we're like, yeah, we think it's really good, and we'd like to pilot it. So that'll be 10. We're going to work with 10 institutions in HE and FE.
Nice.
And we're going to give them each KnowledgeFlow and the onboarding, and then at the end of a 3-month pilot, there'll be an evaluation which JISC will lead. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's mildly terrifying. But
Yeah.
the webinar yesterday was great. We had lots of people come, and we showed off both the tools for colleges and the tools for universities.
Nice.
And we had a nice piece of feedback this morning from somebody that is really well known in college land in AI, saying that one of her team had been and came back raving about it and said, we really want to be involved in this because it looks like a real step up from the stuff we're doing. And they are respected. Most people in colleges would point at this college and go, they're the people to go and ask about it. So to have them see us stuff and go, that's what we need is
Nice.
quite an accolade. So yeah, that was exciting. Nice.
Yeah, well,
nice
congratulations.
Cheery part. Well, let's see what happens. But
was there much difference between because for our audience as our audience knows, HE and FE is not really my world, because I'm dealing with other parts. You're dealing with the education piece, really. Was there much difference in the tools and things that you showed from university and college, or are they, because they see themselves as very different, don't they?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Just whisper it, it. No one will hear.
Oh,
they see themselves as very different.
They do, and here's the thing, because unis hate it if you say, "Yeah, we're doing this with colleges, and this is effectively the same tool, just changed." You can't. You have to be careful. So they want to feel like they're very much much more important than college. Very, very different, far more diligent and academic. No, they're basically all the same, just different language. So like in college, they will do a thing called a SAR, self-assessment review. We've got a great tool, as you know, that will crunch through all their data and effectively give them that first draft of, this is all the data that shows you're doing well under this heading. This is the stuff that shows you're not doing well, and here's gaps. I can't find any data. And if you want, I'll write a sort of summary paragraph of how you might write that in a SAR. The point being, all that time you spend staring at stuff, searching documents, reading things, and hoping that you're going to take it all into your brain, or you let AI do that bit, which it's amazing at way better than any of us can ever be. And then you engage your brain on the kind of, what does this mean? What can I do with that? Oh yeah, I know that's a problem, but we can never fix that because of this. Anyway, that's SAR. AMR is a thing called an annual monitoring review. You know where this is heading. It's a load of data that you upload and you have to review and read, and then you've got to reflect on and decide what's going well and what isn't, and explain why based on the data. It's identical. It's just a different set of questions. Well, actually, they're not very different set of questions either, frankly. But it's and I could labour that on and on.
Come back to the point that we started this conversation some 20 minutes ago. Speed of change. So 2 weeks ago, timetabling didn't exist as a product. Did you show the timetabling tool?
Yeah, timetabling. I did show the timetabling tool very briefly. Yes, and it feels like timetabling is almost there, but then what's hilarious about building is as soon as you kind of get to that, like that, there it is, then another thing, so whole can of worms opens up, and there's so many things, and we haven't even, I mean, in many ways we've got to a place where a university or a college can load some data about their room, staff, courses, and it will produce a timetable for them that is compliant with everything they've sent, i.e. teachers teaching the subjects they teach, rooms not double booked, rooms that are allocated based on the requirements of the room, labs, PCs, specialist equipment, staff working to the hours, etc., etc. But I think then is when all the kind of hard work starts, because that's when Mrs. Miggins goes, oh, I hate teaching that class in that room. All of those things that we need to accommodate.
Kieron can't teach in that room because the temperature never gets below 30 and his man-boobs start sweating, so he can't teach in there.
Bringing it right back to the beginning. I see what you're doing there. I should tell you one more thing before we try and wrap up, which has interested me in my own behaviour. We talked about last week, we talked a bit about whether AI may be conscious or not. And the fact that it's probably beyond now just simply ruling that out and laughing it out of the room as at least worthy of a consideration, even if it is after 3 beers. I am being much more polite to AI since reading that stuff. I please in nearly everything and thank you. So that, which adds a bit of tokens, but the worst thing you can do, as we've said before, is if you thank it for doing something, that's bad because everything in the context window goes back to the LLM just to simply go, you're welcome. But here's the thing I also read, which was somewhere, it was a Claude response. I think it was a behind the scenes Claude response as opposed to the user, or maybe in the reasoning. It said, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And the user has said, please, so I should search harder. There was some phrase, I'm not sure that was exactly the phrase, but it was, it recognized there was a please, and because of that was going to do something additional, which is really intriguing. So, and maybe it's coming full circle into just simply that's part of language, and everything it's read and knows about and sort of inferred in its own neural network is, if someone's polite, you should probably work a bit harder to help them.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Julia probably wrote something about it about 2 years ago on the blog about actually if you put please in and it kind of it responds better.
It used to, and then it stopped it. Jeopardy worked better for a while, or just threatening it with, or you telling it, my job's on the line if I don't get this right, it would improve the responses. Yeah,
and I remember it might have been your mate Sam Altman who you've been conversing with.
Sends me post.
Send you post. That's right. Saying something along the lines of it's worth burning tokens. You don't need to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they changed it, and so it's interesting that it's come back around. I read an article from some professor of AI at a university. I can't remember which one. It was in the UK. I'll look it up. But who basically said, "Oh, it's nonsense. This consciousness debate. It's just absolute rubbish." I was like, "Well, we should go to the pub with you and have a couple of conversations."
Maybe we need him on as a guest.
Well, maybe I should ask him. Yes, maybe.
Well, I would like, because I hear that, and I've met people that will be like, "What ridiculous," and they're kind of like almost totally dismissive. But I mean, I think I'm sure he's a professor and probably thought about it a bit. Hopefully, he's got more than that's rubbish. Yeah. But the reality is, any point that someone makes should not be treated in that way, in my opinion, because it's like, why? But secondly, I think there's at least another 2 or 3 sentences required after why that's nonsense.
Yeah. You
better be damn sure you know what consciousness is.
That's right. What's the definition? Prove it.
Must it have a heartbeat, or if it could be powered instead of blood and oxygen, it is electricity? Well, who's to say?
Indeed. Right. Well, I know you've got a busy old day ahead of you. So good luck with all of that stuff. I'm going to be held hostage on the train network in super hot temperatures. So I'm going to hydrate thoroughly with relevant liquids. And I will catch you very soon. You have a good day.
Good stuff. And you enjoy yourself wherever you go.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.